Hello and welcome to the No Balls Podcast. I'm your host, Patrick McDonald, with me co-host Sheldon Kaufman. Today we're talking about the NBA playoffs. We're kind of recapping the second round, or the first round, and giving some second round predictions. Just a quick preview for next week. We'll do the What's Next episode for all of the first round exits. And that pretty much covers the introduction here. Sheldon's going to get us started off with a trivia question, like always, before we get into the bulk of the episode.
All right, Pat. I guess in celebration of there being a Game 7 tomorrow between the Clippers and the Denver Nuggets, we're gonna have a little Game 7 trivia for you. So we have what player has scored the most points in a Game 7 playoff game or championship game? And if you want to guess the points, you can too. But
Is
that's
this
not really
a
fun.
single game
And
or
just in
total points?
one Game 7, like single game record. How
Okay.
many points in one game?
I'm going to go for the points too, because I'm pretty sure it is 2022 Jason Tatum against the Sixers with 50 points.
Okay, you got Jason Tatum, and then you're off by the points by one and the year by one.
Okay.
2023, Jason Tatum dropped 51 points against the Philadelphia Sixers, as you said. He shot 60% from the field, 60% from three, and had 13 boards in a victory. So, yeah.
That was a good showing, I think.
Oh, yeah.
I couldn't remember which year. I was picking between 2 and 3. I thought it was 50, and I knew it was against the Sixers.
It was 51, so.
Yeah.
Curry had 50.
Oh, he did. That was, wait. Which game?
I got you 1 second.
Yeah, wait.
It was also in 2023 against Sacramento. He had 50.
Oh, yes. Yeah. I do remember that. Because Curry broke the record and Tatum broke it 2 weeks later, and it was just like...
Yeah, literally, that's crazy.
Yeah, okay. That's why I forgot about the Curry one. All right. Currently, as we're recording this, it is 5-2 around midday, so Warriors-Rockets Game 6 has yet to be played. I guess we can start with Warriors-Rockets if you would like. What do you want to say to start on Warriors-Rockets?
Yeah, well, I think the Warriors have kind of shocked me and you a little bit. Maybe not much. I don't know. I feel like me and you were both really on the Rockets this series, and they've struggled. But I think a lot of their struggles have been things that you pointed out pre-series with Jalen Green being inefficient, and some other things. Jimmy Butler has been huge for the Warriors, and then I think game 4, right? Last game was game 4 or game 5. Yeah, game 5. Game 5 is when we really saw everything really come together for the Rockets. They scored 131 points, beat the Warriors by 15, and the Warriors kind of pulled the plug about halfway through third quarter and put in all the subs. Kevin Knox, Pat Spencer. Pat Spencer got ejected. Crazy altercation there. Just kind of fuels the rivalry even more going into this game 6. I think Sengun, Brooks, and Amen Thompson all had 20 plus points on 50% shooting. So I think that's really important for the Rockets. Sengun only had 15 and still they were able to win. They really did a good job of containing Curry and Jimmy Butler, I think. And that's huge, obviously. And I think containing Pods was big too, because Pods has been really big this series. We've seen him make. This is the things that you were talking about him preseason. The ability that what can he do? This is what he might be able to do. He had 26 in game 3 or game 4. He had 10 in game 2. No, game 3. Sorry. But yeah, I think that if they can contain Pods and a couple other of those role players, they'll have a chance to win. But I don't know, Pat. What are you feeling going into this game 6?
I think I've shifted to just saying that I think the Warriors are now going to take it Um, at first, like you said, we both were Rockets favoring, and I don't think that we were necessarily wrong in thinking that. I think maybe we looked over the young team aspect. I think the Rockets missed like 40 free throws between games 2 and 4. Um, so like it was really that
Kind of
aspect of a young team really showed.
yeah.
Um, and like the Jalen Green inconsistency. I mean, I can't say that that wasn't something that I was already aware of, but like I figured like why couldn't he have had the good game in game one?
Yeah.
Because I feel like it since it happened in game two, it like restarted the patience that Ime Udoka had with him, and it kept the Rockets from running some of their really unique lineup stuff. And like for me, this is like the lineup series because like I've already mentioned the double big with Jabari Smith lineup, but then like in some instances the Warriors are changing their lineups like super heavily. I think for them the key is where are the Rockets gonna put Şengün, and in the start of the series they were putting him on Moody because Moody's, even though he's a decent shooter, like he's the most weak off the bounce player in the Warriors starting lineup. And then eventually it was pods, and the Rockets kind of realized that wasn't going to work, and then they inserted Buddy Hield into the lineup, into the starting lineup, which I at first I thought was strange, but because I thought Moody was playing quite well on the defensive end, but they really don't need perimeter defenders against Houston, like weirdly enough, because they kind of just need to overload on help defense and size, because the Rockets outside of Fred VanVleet don't really hit any shots, it feels like. Um, and Buddy Hield was pretty good. I think in game 4 or 5 he had like 26 or something like that. He had a good game at some point in there, and
Games
they are
before.
yeah, he was pretty good. And I think Curry has been like I'm watching Curry, I'm like, is he still in his prime at 37? Like it's ridiculous. I think the shot making is obviously a little bit worse from like 2016 peak Steph Curry, but he's so much stronger than he was back then. His ball handling is so much better. Um, I still feel like Curry's playing at kind of an somehow playing at an all time level. I think he ramped up a lot going into the playoffs, and I mean it's just ridiculous. Like the amount of like 27-foot contested jump shots he's hit this series that are just they're heartbreaking, is what they are for Houston, and he's just been so good. I thought Houston would have a little bit more answers for them, and I think they have. A lot of the zone defense principles that they've thrown out have really given the Warriors some issues. But for those zone principles, they kind of need to have a big lineup out there with Adams and Şengün. And what we see is in game 5 or 4, the Warriors do the hack of Adams. And I'm sitting there watching it and I'm like, okay, well, Steven Adams did shoot 45% from the free throw line, but that is still more efficient than the Rockets half court offense this series. So it doesn't sound like a move that should work, but Ime Udoka, I think, um, made a mistake by instantly pulling Adams out as soon as that happened. So I, even though this is a series that like I think the Rockets are going to end up being very competitive. I think like that was a game they could have won, and they end up losing that game. And I think if Udoka
Game
doesn't
one or
game
which one were we talking about?
five
Game five.
four, um, I feel like the Rockets' margin for error isn't very huge in this series, and having a game like that they very easily like could have taken. I think it ultimately ends up costing them in this series. I don't think it's impossible that they still win because they'll have the game 7 at home. Um, but the Warriors just look um, a little more. It looks like Steve Kerr has a little bit more answers, even if like sometimes his rotational decisions to me border on like unnecessary tinkering. Like I understand a little bit the Moody thing, but at some point in game, I think it was game 4 as well, where Draymond's in foul trouble, and they need size out there. Otherwise, the Rockets were just going to offensive rebound them to death. And he inserts Jackson Davis into the game. And I'm like, well, like you've played Looney all series. Why is Looney not coming into the game? I just didn't. At some points, it didn't make much sense to me. But I mean, offensively, they still have everything figured out. It feels like, and like Draymond Green, I don't know how he's so awesome defensively still. I don't understand it whatsoever. So, I mean, you got anything else in this series? Do you still think Houston has a chance? What do you think?
I think they could force a game 7. Curry's been a little banged up with his thumb. Have you seen the picture of his thumb? I don't know if you saw that, but that just looked crazy. Uh, and I think that Van Vliet's gonna have a good game tonight, and I think that Jalen Green, like he has to show up at some point, and if he does, it's a totally different game. Like if they're getting 25 from Jalen Green along with everything else that they'll be able to do, it's gonna be a totally different game. And like you said, I think Sengun's just been. I mean, Draymond has been locking Sengun up this whole series pretty much, except for maybe a game or two. Um, he's gonna. I think if they want to have a chance, they got to get him going, or he has to get going himself. Because 15 from one of your not your better, but higher point per game scorers on your roster. He's definitely gonna have to show up to lead this team. But yeah, I think I agree with you. I think the Warriors can win. Will win a game 7, but I think that the Rockets could force it. But the Warriors end up winning.
And I think a key for Houston too. I think Ema Udoka clearly listened to the podcast because I mentioned the lack of them using Amen Thompson as a downhill threat. And in games 4 and 5, that was a lot more prominently featured for them. And I think that's an offensive key for them, especially if like the Jalen Green minutes just haven't been any good, which they haven't been. So I think that is something that can potentially help them take a game, and maybe game 7 you get the Jalen Green explosion. That's a formula to win. I'm really interested if Udoka sticks with Green as well. We're gonna see game 6 tonight, and then if there is a game 7, we'll see game 7. I'm really interested in if he even sticks with them starting.
His minutes have been like ever since the game 4 or game 3. Yeah, the last 2 games he hasn't been playing like as much, like 24 and 27 compared to like 35, 38. Um, I can see it happening if he comes out like out of the gate shooting bad. Yeah, I think they should pull him for sure.
Yeah, just either for Adams or Jabari Smith Jr., like just something else, or Tari Eason even. Like there's just a ton of different options that Houston can put out there, and it could 100% happen. I guess we have other series to recap. The winner of this series would face the Minnesota Timberwolves, who beat the Los Angeles Lakers. I'll let you start. What do you want to say on this series right here? Because it was a good one.
Yeah, I mean it was a good one. It was very shocking as well. 4-1 series win for the Timberwolves, and they really just dominated. Defensively, I think the Lakers, it stuck out. We talked about when this trade happened that JJ Redick was doing a very good job. The Lakers were playing good defense even though they had Luka, but yeah, during this series, the bigs the no not having a big really hurt. Like Rudy Gobert had 27 and 24 last game. That just can't happen, right? Uh, I think AR-15 really struggled. Their best third option. It was just LeBron and Luke out there every night, pretty much, and they weren't able to get it done. Austin Reeves, I think, never even got above 20 points the whole series. So I think Luka defensively, that was a really big problem. Everyone was trying to switch on him. Julius Randle, and had a really great series attacking Luka, and really just changed like the narrative of Julius Randle. I think during these playoffs because he was stepping up when Ant had a bad game. The Timberwolves were 40 or no, they were 7 for 47 from three last game, and they won. They still won the game. Ant was 0 for 11, and Julius Randle still had 23 points, or around that. So I think Julius Randle, has really stepped up, and Timberwolves are now looking like a threat because if you can go and face the Warriors, if you can face the Rockets, I think they could possibly win it now. I think we can see a type run that they had last year after beating the Nuggets and then almost beating the Mavericks. Am I right? Or yeah. So yeah, I think this was a crazy series though, Pat. Because I don't think anyone thought LeBron and Luka were going to go out. I also think it was interesting that Jackson Hayes didn't really play a lot when they don't have a big, and Rudy Gobert's out there rebounding, getting 24 rebounds. Like you think a 6'11" guy stepping in there might do better than Rui Hachimura or LeBron James. Like I feel like that was a little bit questionable. I think JJ Redick not putting in any starter or any subs during the second half last game was really bad. I mean, he was running it like an AAU team. So we definitely saw some inexperience come from that side, but it's not all on the coaching. I think this Lakers roster seriously has to be reconstructed, and I think Luca has a lot to work on defensively as well because I think it really glared because even though he's so good offensively and so talented, the defense really takes away from it. I think, in my opinion, um, it really hurts him in a lot of people's eyes. But those were kind of my overall thoughts on the series. And Edwards, he's continuing to make himself the face of the league. So, yeah.
And I feel like the thing too is that Luca comment. I feel like we're saying it every year.
And
Um,
every year it's like he's gonna fix it, but
Yeah, it feels like the same comment every year. He's either banged up or in this series he was sick. Um, like I when is it going to get better? I think it can be better, but um the Lakers for me, this series for me, I think is one that I specifically whiffed on. Minnesota was one of the four teams this season to have a top 10 offense and defense. The other four teams were OKC, Boston, and Cleveland. Um, I was a little bit more concerned with the overall shooting talent of this team, and I think my initial comment was, "Will Jaden McDaniels hit enough 3-point shots?" And Jaden McDaniels hit enough 3-point shots. I think
yeah.
this was about as good of an offensive series as you could have got out of Jaden McDaniels. I mean, I'll let you say what you want on Jaden McDaniels here real quick.
Oh,
Um,
sorry. I thought I was muted.
oh,
Yeah,
you're
I
good.
agree. He won him the game in game one, right? He basically won him the game, hitting big threes
Yeah.
down the stretch. And he had 25 in that game. He had 30, or yeah, 25 in that game. In game three, he had 30. And yeah, when he had those games, he was hitting good threes. He was just doing it all from the field. I feel like a lot of guys stepped up. Like this wasn't just an ant explosion. Like I said, Julius Randle, um, that whole series 23, 25, 22, 27, like straight consistency from Julius Randle, which we don't really see a lot. And Nas Reed, I mean, Nas Reed is a huge factor. He's going to get a bag this offseason, I think. He was really good defensively for them. And he had some good offensive games, and we'll see that some more of that coming up. So yeah, I think this Timberwolves team changed a lot of people's minds after just doing what they did to the Lakers. Because like you said, not a lot of people were overlooking this team.
Yeah. And for me, there were a couple takeaways for me. And just looking back and where I missed, obviously you know, the Jaden McDaniels thing happened, right? Like, that was going to happen. But even without that, there were things that I didn't necessarily see happening that did happen. And Anthony Edwards, for me, he shot pretty inefficiently this series, relatively. He wasn't super efficient, but he really impressed me with his decision making was much improved. On a guess, how many how many turnovers do you think Anthony Edwards had this season or series?
This series combined,
Yep.
I'll go 15.
6.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Um, it was just like it just was so much improved compared to his regular season. Um, I feel like that was a big key for me. Like I was like, the Lakers don't have rim protection to stop Ant at the rim, but they're gonna shrink the floor and make him make decisions, and he hasn't necessarily been great at that, but he was great at it. Like all series. And Julius Randle, I think you mentioned, I think he did a good job taking advantage of mismatches and making decisions when he had to make decisions. And like those were just things that I didn't necessarily see going well to this degree. And Chris Finch, I had my concerns about what their clutch time offense would look like because they were like, out of all the playoff teams, Minnesota was like 26th total in the NBA in clutch, and like I think the only other team not in the top 20 was the Heat. Um, but then like that's obviously how they have a top 10 offense and defense, but then aren't a top 10 team by record. That's how it happens is you lose a bunch of close games. But then their clutch time offense looks a lot better because Chris Finch was like extraordinarily adaptable, and I wasn't so sure that the lineup combinations were going to get used as much because I was like going into the series, I was like, I think a lot of their best lineups contain an odd bunch of 3 starters and 2 bench players, or you know, 4 of your starters and a bench player, and something like that. And Chris Finch was very willing to use his depth in clutch time situations. Rudy Gobert, I think, averaged like 26 minutes a game for the series. He obviously had the big game 5, but in the first couple games, he didn't seem like too much of a factor. Um, like Naz Reid closing out games. I don't know if he missed a 3 all series. Um, just they went really, really good. And I, I still don't know how confident I am in like a super deep playoff run for Minnesota. Like even if they do make it past the second round, I still have the quails about the offense because I think in this series they didn't have to play Gobert because the Lakers didn't really have anybody who could pressure the rim. Um, but I do think that Minnesota was just the better team. Um, on the Lakers side of things, I think their offense at times looked a little disorganized and definitely looked like a team that half of the players weren't on at the start of the season, to say the least. So I think there will be obviously a little bit of rebalancing of the roster, and then I would assume they will organize the offense because they were a really good offense at the start of the season and like a really intricate one. And then like it was all running through Anthony Davis, and then they shipped off Anthony Davis. So like it kind of undid everything that they set up during training camp. Like just thinking about it, like would you really believe that D'Angelo Russell was on this year's Lakers team?
Yeah, that's so great.
Yeah,
No, I
S-
wouldn't. Like that's just
yeah,
that's so crazy to think.
yeah. I agree. So like I don't think this was going to be the year for the Lakers. I didn't think it going into or immediately after the Luka trade, and then they kind of like did look very good for a little bit, and then it kind of all unfolded in the playoffs. I think they'll come back next year a better team. I think there needs to be some offseason, restructuring of how they're running things a little bit. And I don't think it necessarily needs to be big organizational changes like get a center. Um, maybe you do something with Reeves. Maybe it's benching him and starting a center instead of him, and then just doing other things and then getting a more structured offense because um, at times at times the offense would look very just isolation heavy, or Luka kind of just trying to isolate against Naz Reid because he's like the weakest perimeter defender out there, and it's just like it's not going to produce great offense. um, Breaking news coming live from Sheldon here. Do you wanna say it?
Yeah. I got you. So the Spurs are hiring their new head coach, which I mean that means Pop is out. So
Yes.
that's crazy. Long time great. I mean, he's one of the greatest coaches of all time, no doubt about it. But Mitch Johnson will be the new head coach for the San Antonio Spurs. I believe that he was the interim during the season. I want to say,
Okay.
and he was an assistant. Yeah. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. So this is crazy.
Yeah. They hire the guy who they trusted to take over. For me, that's always a decent if the guy was good enough for you to have him step in as the interim and you trust him to go forward, that means I think it's probably a fine coaching hire.
Yeah.
Uh,
Dang.
I was wanting to look at it before, because I thought Taylor Jenkins was from there before, and that was a fit that I always saw, but I don't know if he was actually from San Antonio. So anyway, um,
Most.
series next.
Oh wait, no. No wait.
I not from there, but I meant like he had
Oh.
previously coached under Pop.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Um. Here was Taylor Jenkins a Popovich assistant. Okay, yeah. So yes, Taylor Jenkins was an assistant coach under Greg Popovich. It was like 15 years ago, so I don't know if I should have put any stock into that. Um, Second round series, Minnesota versus whoever comes out of that other series that we talked about for 10 minutes. What I guess we can start with Minnesota versus Warriors if that were to happen. What do you think about that potential series?
I do think the Timberwolves would win that. Ah, man, it's hard. It's hard. I think their defense could be a big factor in that game. Um, yeah, I think I'm gonna lean. I would probably lean Timberwolves for sure. Especially with the way they've been playing offense as well. Like we've seen where their defense hasn't really been that great. Like they've been letting up buckets, but they've also won those games. Like so they're like as opposed to last year and how they leaned so heavily on the defense. Like if they weren't doing good defensively, they had no chance to win the game. But I think that they would be able to get into a shootout with the Warriors. And I think they could. I think they could win in a game 6 or 7. I do think it would come down to the wire. It would probably be like a really close series, and it'd be really good basketball. I'm really excited for these second round matchups.
This is a 6 versus 7 seed potentially happening. Um, I don't know exactly how the series would go out, honestly, because I feel like the easy place to start for me is the Minnesota lineups, because that was my question going into the Lakers series. And I think a lot of the things that the Warriors are doing to Şengün is like some of the issues that Minnesota would have to answer, like where are you putting Gobert? Um, how are you going to defend anything the Warriors are going to do? Um, I think McDaniels is obviously a good start. Spotting him on Curry, and I think obviously Edwards and Alexander Walker would get their chances with Curry, and Randall would probably get um, Jimmy Butler if I had to guess.
Yeah.
Um, and then Gobert, I mean, are you gonna stick him on Moody or Pods or I guess Healed to keep him out of the Warriors like pick and roll and
Oh,
split
if he
actions?
was on Draymond, then
Yeah,
switch on to him. Yeah. Um, maybe probably Moody. I think Pods is more of a threat. I'd be
yeah,
worried
but
about him on Pods, but like if he sits on Moody, he can contest shots. He can definitely get a hand in a face, even if he's sitting back. Um, so
and
yeah.
like the instant counter there too is just for the Warriors to start Healed then, um, because regardless for me, like I feel like Golden State plays a very similar style of defensive structure to what the Lakers just did against Minnesota. Like, obviously Draymond is out there, but he's the big.
Mhm.
Um, and I think they would do it a little bit better than the Lakers because I don't think they have to cover for as much as the Lakers had to. Like, I think the Warriors have more rim protection. I think they don't have a defender as bad as Luka Doncic. Um, and like even like LeBron's not giving you great one-on-one perimeter possessions either. So I think that defensively they can make it a little bit tougher for Minnesota than uh, the Lakers did. But then I think the easier counter too for them as well is like, what if the Timberwolves just do the Nas Reed thing again, where they don't play Gobert very much and they just spread the floor out? Will I think? Do I think the Warriors can take advantage of them doing that on the offensive side of the floor? I don't really know because the Lakers tried to attack Nas Reed with Luka and LeBron, and like it just was like, it is a mismatch, but it's still not great offense if we're not creating like super efficient shots. So for me, like I think I would lean Minnesota. Um, I think they can throw enough at Curry to where he's not going to light you up or get open layups for his teammates every possession. Um, I think if anybody, because I do think that this would be the series that Randall would struggle because he's going to get Butler and Draymond thrown at him, and I don't think the Lakers quite had enough answers, especially if Vanderbilt wasn't playing very often. I think this could be a rougher Randall series. And obviously the shot making of McDaniels, Alexander Walker, DiVincenzo, and Nas Reed is like a big X factor here. Um, but I think I lean Minnesota here just slightly. I'm never gonna doubt Steph Curry, so this will probably be a tough defensive series for Minnesota. And I think the way you said like a shootout, I think there could be a couple shootouts in this series. Um, especially if Gobert is not going to be on the floor consistently for Minnesota. So yeah, I think I kind of agree with you as well there. Um, 30 minutes on just one side of the bracket, and we're not even done. Um, a Rockets versus Minnesota series. What do we have to start with?
Rockets. Yeah, I had it. Rockets versus Minnesota. I think I'm way more confident in Minnesota on this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think the Rockets will can like do anything defensively that will like make a huge drastic effect on them. And like Sengun's going at Rudy Gobert. I kind of like Rudy Gobert in that matchup, at least defensively. Um, and I don't think their offense is good enough to beat this defense. I just don't. I just like if it were gonna happen, Jalen Green would have to go for 20, and VanVleet would have to go for 25, and they would have to get 20 from Thompson, and like 20, like they would have to get so much. I just don't think they would be able to. Um, unlike I think so, I really like I think the Warriors definitely have a better chance if they win. I'm way more confident. I would go ahead and say that the Timberwolves would win in a series against the Rockets for sure.
I would pick so as well. I think the big thing with them is like the Warriors. I didn't think Houston. I thought Houston was a pretty tough matchup for the Warriors to handle defensively, and the Warriors are still like pretty convincingly like playing better than the Rockets in this series. And I think Minnesota just has a lot better answers for the size that Houston's going to throw out there. And I think if you shut that down, like Houston's offense can get like extremely ugly. Like right now, it's like they're missing a ton of shots and getting putbacks consistently. But if you could shut down the offensive rebounding, like, or and make them a one-shot team a lot more often, I think that's going to be tough. I think even for like if the Jalen Green thing comes around, I think they have more answers for that than the Warriors did. Um, because on like as far as like great perimeter defenders to go, yeah, the Warriors would have Gary Payton coming off the bench, but they didn't, that was him and Jalen Green didn't line up minutes wise very often because Jalen Green didn't play a lot for the latter half of the series. Um, Defensively, I think Houston could do all the things that the Lakers were trying to do, but do them a lot better. That being said, I still think that um, Minnesota is going to have enough answers on that end of the floor because I do think they go 8 deep in good NBA rotational players, and Edwards' decision making just looks so good against the Lakers that I'm not going to pick against uh, him making good decisions. I think the shot making, like, he's not going to go 0 for 11 another time. I don't think that happens. So that being said, I think Randall, Gobert, and Nas Reed will be a good enough solution for the size problem that Houston can inflict on teams. And I think Minnesota very confidently in this series if it were to happen. So that's the 3-6-7, or the 2-6-7 side of the Western Conference with 36 minutes in. Where do we want to go to next?
Let's go to the Clippers. Let's go to the Clippers series. The Game 7, the one that has gone to Game 7 so far, and it's been crazy, Pat. Yesterday they won 111 to 105. Kawhi had 27. Powell had 24. James Harden with a really good performance with 28. I think this has been like one of his best games this series. If I'm not mistaken. Yeah, it's been one of the best games this series. And if they want to win this Game 7, they're going to need Harden to have another great game. He had 21 in the first half, and then the Clippers kind of just started to run away with it in that third quarter. And then the Nuggets ended up making it a little bit close. And then, so a couple things from that game I saw. Batum has been playing some really good basketball for these guys. He had a good block on Westbrook in a clutch situation. Blocked Westbrook. Had a great little pump fake, bump, drive, and then pass it to Kawhi for a claw dunk where he just kind of levitates up there. I think Kawhi has been playing really, really good basketball. Like, he's kind of a little vintage Kawhi that we've been seeing from him. I think Chris Dunn offensively has been kind of a little bit of a surprise this series, considering what he usually does. Okay, well, maybe just last game. Or yeah, game 1 and game. Oh, no. Yeah, just last game. A couple games ago, 8-15. But he's also doing really good defensively as well. And Zubac did a really good job on Jokic last night. Zubac has, this series he's been doing pretty good offensively as well. But to hold Jokic to under his season averages in this game was big. And I think Michael Porter Jr., if he's been kind of lacking this series, in my opinion. He only had 5 last game. He hasn't gotten over 20 yet, and this is a guy that really good shooter, really good 3-point shooter, should be a 3-point sniper. And he's going to have to show up big in this Game 7 because it's going to be interesting. I'm worried about the Clippers though, just because of the Denver experience, right? I mean, the last time they were in Denver, was that not the Aaron Gordon tip-in game? Or no, was that in Cleveland?
That was in Denver.
Yeah, it was in Denver. So, and that was a game I think the Clippers should have won, right? They got like killed in that third quarter after it was a really close game. The Nuggets scored 35 and the Clippers only scored 17 in the third quarter. And then the Clippers scored 34 in the fourth quarter. So I mean, I love the Clippers. I'm worried about a run. I'm worried about a run where they get down by 10 plus in the third quarter and they have to claw back. And then I don't know, maybe they get too exhausted in the air. But I think if they start off strong, either get like a 3-point lead at halftime, 5-point lead at halftime, or only down 2 or 3 or 4, it could be looking really good for this team, Pat. Yeah.
I've continually been lower on the Clippers than you have, but I think late in the season I really came around on them. I think a lot of the additions they made at the deadline really helped with them. Like Bogey's been big for them. Getting Ben Simmons on the buyout market's been pretty key for them. The Chris Dunn move is just like it's literally an upgraded Terrence Mann, and like he literally hits everything for some reason in these playoffs. He's been awesome. I think this is regardless of what happens in this series, I do think this is probably and I might be completely whiffing here, but I think this is what I would say is the best Clippers team since Kawhi's been there. It really feels that way, and maybe it sounds weird because it's coincided to them potentially losing to what I think is the worst Nuggets team in a while. But I just they have so many options, and I think Denver's just a really weird matchup for them because although all the defensive things that the Clippers do is really big, it's just and like Zoo's done a good job. It's just like the Westbrook's hit threes this series, and they lose one game on an Aaron Gordon tip dunk, and I think the Clippers have played better this series. But going back to Denver with a huge home court advantage, because Denver legitimately has that. I think it's just going to be really hard, and they lost a couple of really close games in this series, and they had the blowout. I think it's going to be really unfortunate if this Clippers team loses because I think they're probably who I would say is the best chance of beating Oklahoma City. Um, yeah, but I do think honestly, if I had to pick a Game 7 winner, I think I would pick Denver. What do you have to say on that?
Uh, yeah, It's hard. It's really hard. I think Denver. I think Denver has a chance because of the. I think Denver, like the home court advantage, is going to be really hard. I'll go ahead and stick with the Clippers like I have been all year. Um, I don't know. I am worried though. I am worried because Jokic could come out and have like a crazy game. But do you think it's going to be a close one, or do you think we're going to get a blowout, or do you think we're going to get a classic? A
Oh,
little,
it'll be a classic.
yeah, yeah. That's what I'm worried for. But it will be a good game. I think Kawhi will show up. I think I've been watching. I was watching like an interesting thing on TNT and Jalen Rose was talking about how the star player has to come out and set the tone for everyone else, like all the other role players. So like I don't know if that's whether that be Kawhi or James Harden. I think one of them will definitely have to do that, and I think both of them are gonna have to have a big game. I think James Harden especially because when he's getting to his little tween, either step back and 3 point or jab and cross over and get to the bucket. That's when he's at his best, and we saw a lot of that last game. And I think we're gonna have to see a lot of it in Game 7. Um, but I'm excited.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I mean, I guess we have to preview a potential second round series with both of these teams against OKC. We could start with the Clippers because I did say I think they would be the only team in the West that I really would think could beat OKC. Um, and for me, like, I think the formula for them is they can run this um, Zubats Harden pick and roll pretty consistently, and that's going to be a way for them um, to potentially get shooters a good bit of shots. Like I think Chris Dunn will be left wide open, and if Chris Dunn's hitting his threes that series, that can really swing the result. Um, I think you have shooters like Bogdanovich and Batum who are also, they can sway a series with their shooting ability. Um, and then I think the big thing for them is just the inelasticness of Kawhi Leonard's offense because the Clippers give him the ball in spots where if you're going to send a double, Kawhi is probably going to still have enough time to see it and then get a good shot off anyway. Um, when the Nuggets have successfully gotten doubles when Kawhi's not expecting it, he can't really punish it, and that's why I wouldn't pick LAC to beat OKC. Because I think OKC is going to be able to throw enough things at them to just slow them down. And on the defensive side of the floor, like I don't think you're going to do better against SGA than putting Chris Dunn on him. Like I don't think there's a better alternative out there in the NBA. What do you have to say?
Yeah, I think that'll be definitely an interesting matchup if we see Chris Dunn on SGA because Chris Dunn is a really, really good perimeter defender. Not so much in the post as we saw them trying to put him on Aaron Gordon early on in Game 6. It did not work. But yeah, I think that would be definitely very interesting. And the Clipper, like if the Clippers want to make it to the series, they got to steal one. They got to steal one in those first two games, either game one or game two. They got to get one. Um, and I think they can definitely do it. They can definitely muddy it up. They could definitely play some good defense on a really good offensive team. Um, but man, OKC is so good. Like, yeah, I think I got Thunder winning, but I think Clippers. If they want to make it a series, they get game one. They can. I mean, they could go 2-2. I mean, they could get one in OKC and then one when they play in Denver. I mean, in LA, and then maybe one more again. Uh, but yeah,
Yeah, I think that's the extent that I would give them in that series. I don't necessarily think I would ever predict them, but I think the Clippers would be a much more tough series in Denver. We can get to Denver. Um, like it would kind of just have to be like the ultimate Jokic series, in my opinion, if they were gonna come out of it, or like maybe Porter Jr. has a really good defensive series and they can keep him on the floor more often. But I also just think that that's very unlikely, and I'm not gonna make a bet on what seems to be unlikely. Um, it if Denver were to try to slow down SGA, like it would take a very good defensive series from Michael Porter Jr. Versus with the Clippers, I think they can ask Chris Dunn to shake around some drop coverage and uh, hopefully it'll set some type of a ceiling for what OKC's pick and rolls can look like, and it can avoid them from getting unfavorable switches on Shai Gilgeous-Alexander to hopefully slow down their isolation game. Um, I guess I'm just talking about the Clippers and saying things that Denver I don't think can do. But yeah, I don't think Denver quite has enough answers, and if things are going to go well for them, it's like I feel like they kind of have to make shots, and OKC doesn't. That sounds like very terrible analysis, but like I think it's going to take some outlier shooting for Denver to have a chance. I would pick OKC very convincingly in a Denver OKC series. What do you have to say?
yeah, I agree 100%, Pat. They would need big games from MPJ and Aaron Gordon consistently. Don't think that would happen. I don't think they have the defense at all to really stop this really good Thunder team, and it'd be Thunder in five.
That would probably be my pick as well. Um, Thunder in five, and that sets us up for a Thunder versus Timberwolves conference finals from our predictions. Um, yeah, I mean, we'll talk about that if that actually happens. The East is existing. We know our matchups, so hopefully we can go through that in quicker than 45 minutes. Do you want to start in either of these two series with the East? I guess we can recap anything of the. I guess the Pistons Knicks is like the only relevant one because we kind of knew Milwaukee was going to get blown out. Um,
Yeah. Uh, great series by the Pistons. I think. They did a really good job. I mean, they got some bad luck here and there going against the clutch player of the year, Jalen Brunson, on a just gross snatchback 3-pointer to win the game last night to eventually eliminate them. I think they exposed a little bit of the Knicks, a little bit of the Knicks' flaws this series. Like if Cat doesn't have Cat not being able to have a good game, like really hurts the Knicks. Like every game where he hasn't gotten like 25 plus, um, they've lost or they've almost lost. Let me go to it. So like last night he only had 10. The game that they lost, game four,
two.
or the game 2 games ago he had 17. Game 2 he only had 10. So or game 1 he only game 2 he only had 10. So he did struggle a little bit this series. I think Mikal Bridges struggled a little bit this series, but he did kind of start to find it near the end of it. Um, but yeah, the Pistons, Cade Cunningham, just absolute dog. I think he had 20 points in every, or except for one. No, yeah, he had 20 plus points in every single game this series. Tobias Harris, I think Tobias Harris like kind of really he hurt the Pistons a little bit. I feel like if he had a couple better games, they could have won maybe like game 3 or something like that. Asar Thompson, really good player. I mean, I think he played really good. Or yeah, Asar. Asar played really good defensively. He also kind of exploded offensively a little bit. Just kind of sitting in that dunker spot and getting easy wide open dunks whenever the Knicks would go to help on defense. Uh, Dennis Schroeder played a pretty good series, I think. He had a couple timely threes and played good defense. I thought it was interesting that Bickerstaff didn't keep Asar out there on Jalen Brunson. Kind of, you remember that kind of and one drive near the end of the quarter. I thought that Asar Thompson should have been out there because like Schroeder is kind of like the same size height wise as Brunson and a lot easier to just bump. While whereas Amen Thompson is like 6'8" and his wingspan's incredible and he's super athletic. Also, there was a run there when they took out Thompson, and then the Knicks went on like an 8-0 run. I thought they should have kept him in as well. Uh, and then I think a lot of things we talked about, like the reasons that we thought that the Pistons might not win, it's because of their streaky shooters and Malik Beasley and Tim Hardaway. Malik Beasley, I guess, was definitely better. But I mean, I don't know. I felt like Tim Hardaway never made threes. Like he was like going 0 for 8 hella. Like that whole series I would look and yeah, let's see. 1 for 6, 1 for 7, 0 for 6, 4 for 13 from 3. Some crazy stuff from there. And then Isaiah Stewart didn't play a lot. Pat, you got to refresh me on this because I kind of missed when he went out. Was it game? Did he play game 1?
I think he played game 1, and then I think he had some leg injury that left him out for the whole series.
That's crazy. I think
Um,
that was pretty impactful. I think because it forced Paul Reed to play a lot, and it forced Jalen Duran to play 39 minutes,
yeah,
like play insane minutes because they didn't have. Let's see, Jalen Duran 39, 32, 37, 32, 36, and then when they had Isaiah Stewart, he only played 24 minutes. So I think Jalen Duran played really really good basketball this series on Cat. I thought. Um, so yeah, I think Isaiah Stewart being hurt really hurts them. I want to like the Knicks in this next series. I'm a little concerned though, Pat. What were your takeaways?
Isaiah Stewart, I thought was going to be a much bigger loss than he was, but then Paul Reed stepped in and like actually played pretty good minutes from like game 2 to game 4 at least. Um, Jalen Duran is like an amazing screener. Like, I think there's a lot of talk about like the Pistons, but Beasley and Hardaway like kind of just like playing offensive line on screens the whole time because they were. And I think a lot of that got shifted over to Duran as well because guys were falling down on Duran screens. But like his screens were pretty legit. Like there was a couple times when they were probably illegal screens, but like it seems like he just has a very good understanding of where guys need to be screened for them to just have no chance to get around them. He really good playing off Cade Cunningham. This was a really good offensive series for Duran. I thought defensively, uh, he was okay. Definitely some areas where I would say he could get better, like a lot of silly pickup fouls that you see with young centers all the time. But he did impress me this series. I think the Pistons. I really hope the Celtics didn't watch any of this series because the Pistons had the answers. I just don't think they had the personnel to really take advantage of the stuff that they did. I think they were really physical off ball, and that slowed the Knicks offense down a lot. I think that um, the stuff they did offensively with, even if because the Knicks had pretty good success trapping Cade even with Karl Anthony Towns on the floor. But what they would do is they would give like a brush or like just like they would bump Cat on the way up to go play in a hedge technique, and then it would make Cat late getting to the hedge technique, and from there it's a bucket pretty much because Anunoby's relying on Towns slowing Cade down at the top, and it just wouldn't happen. I think the Pistons had a lot of really good answers, um, but at the end of the day, they didn't have the best player in the series, contrary to what people would believe. We're making you try to believe going into the series. I think I wouldn't be so concerned about the clutch, not the clutch games, but the amount of close games in the series, because I think that's more of a function of the Knicks rather than um, just them being closer in talent to the Pistons. I think their ability to perform and the clutch was a documented part of the team this season. Um, but I would be concerned about some of the things that the Pistons showed, that you can take advantage of the Knicks for. Ultimately, I mean, do we have to say anything about the Boston Magic series? I mean, the Magic won a game and they tried everything that they had, but they didn't.
Yeah,
Corey Joseph started.
Paolo was nice.
Yeah,
Tatum was nice.
Corey Joseph was the starting point guard for the series.
Yeah,
Like,
that was crazy. Man, the bottom of the East is a little bit in shambles right now, but you know what? Next year, maybe it'll be better. But once they get Jalen Suggs and everything, we'll talk about it next week. We'll talk about it next week.
yeah, we'll talk about it next week. Boston versus Knicks. I guess we got to pick, and I'll just start. Like if Jason Tatum and Derek White play, I think the Celtics win. That's how I would go with it. I think the Knicks can definitely win a game or two. It seems like you're a little less confident in
I don't
that.
know. I could like low key see them getting swept
Yeah,
just because like the reason they won this game was Jalen Brunson. Or the series, like the whole series, Brunson had like 30, 40, except for one game. That's the game they lost. Um, and then like you're gonna have Drew Holiday and Derek White on him the whole game, and those are two of the best defenders two of the best perimeter defenders in the NBA. Two of the best, yeah. Um, so you're gonna have either Mikal Bridges step up, and he's kind of shown that he's not that consistent at like coming into big games and really like showing it at least this season. Or Cat, like you're gonna have the Cat step up, but then you have Porzingis, and Porzingis could play on him, and also, or I guess I don't know who they'll throw on him. I don't know who they'll throw at him, but
probably Tatum
Tatum, yeah.
and
So
Hart they'll
yeah,
help off of Hart, I would assume.
yeah, true. And the other thing is they haven't beat this. They haven't beat the Knicks. Haven't beat a team. Like what was that stat? I think the top two, top three, top four.
It's like
teams.
it
They haven't won
extended
a
to
game
the
yet.
top four because the Lakers, I think, or wait, no, because they beat the Rockets, and the Knicks were the fourth best regular season. So it ended up being the top three teams.
Yeah.
They didn't
So
win a game against.
yeah. So I mean, the Celtics they're 0-4 against the Celtics this season. Obviously, playoffs is gonna be a lot different. Um, I think I think at most they'll win one. Um, I mean, it's gonna be so hard because the Celtics team is just really nice. Um, like if they contain Brunson, I think they have a chance to win. And if Cat's gonna have to average like 25 and 10, like this whole series, if they want to have a chance.
Yeah, he does. Um, I think for me, I'm not so concerned about the record thing. I think a narrative going into the Pistons series was like the Pistons were 3-1 against the Knicks in the regular season, and I think the most important thing to consider is like after Mitchell Robinson came back, like none of these teams played the Knicks with Mitchell Robinson any more than one time. And the one game that the Pistons, or not the Pistons, the Celtics played with Robinson playing, it was a overtime game. Uh, so I think it can be a series that the Knicks win. I think the Brunson having Holiday and White on him, I'm not as concerned about that because he just played a whole series with the Sar Thompson and defensive foul Schroeder on him the whole time. Um, so I mean, I'm not too concerned about that. I would be saying that, hey, like the Knicks sometimes go very cold from three. Um, and I think if they're gonna have a chance, they need. I think Anunoby or Bridges, like one of them needs to average like 20 points for the Knicks to win this series. I don't think they'll win it. I think there could definitely be two games that they win. Um, and I'm just really concerned about what the Celtics are going to do to them on the defensive side of the floor. There's a very good chance they're going to make Cat run a ton, and I don't think that's going to go well. So Tatum will probably also, like, Tatum is not Tobias Harris. Like, Tatum will give Cat very, very difficult time. Celtics in 6 is my prediction. 5 or 6. I give the Knicks a 10% chance to win this series.
Yeah. I'll go ahead and just be bold. I'll go 4-0 sweep.
Okay. I can't say it's off the table.
For all the Wizard shit talking I've endured on the podcast. I'm gonna take the Celtics in 4.
For what it's worth, I think the Knicks winning the series is about as.
Yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
As I think the Knicks winning the series is about as likely as a 4-0 sweep. So.
Wow. Okay. I
think
like that because winning, like, not winning one in the Garden would be hard. I feel like winning 2 in the Garden would be very hard.
Not with how Jason Tatum plays in the Garden.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's so hard, but it's like also this Knicks team isn't like no pushover. Like, that's the thing. Like, if they do the right things, they could definitely win a game. But yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. We gave Cade Cunningham a lot more trouble in the playoffs than we did in the regular season. So I'm hoping that it at least happens to Tatum a little bit. Tatum is obviously a much better player than Cade Cunningham, despite what Pistons fans will tell you. Yeah, I never thought I would live to see the day that Cade Cunningham was slightly overrated. But here we are. It's Celtics winning the series. I'm pretty much done with my thoughts on this potential series. We can go to Indiana Cavs, which I think is a better series.
Oh yeah, that one's gonna be very interesting, Pat. Let's see, when's it? That kicks off Sunday. Yeah. So Cavs are opening up as big time favorites over the Pacers, who kind of manhandled Milwaukee pretty much. They lost one game, right? Yeah, they lost one game. And then like that game 4 was crazy. I think the only real one to talk about is game 4. Game 4 was incredible. They were down seven with like 40 seconds left. Nembhard hit a 3, and then Halliburton clutched up and ended up winning the game. They ended up winning the game. And then an altercation took place between Giannis and Halliburton's dad, which was crazy. Maybe we want to talk about that, but yeah, Tyrese Halliburton during this whole series I think played really good basketball. Nothing really eye popping for sure, because like, yeah, he'll get 14 points, but then he'll hit you with 10 assists with that. Just the whole series he had 10 and 12, 21 and 12, 14 10, 17 5, 26 and 9. I thought Siakam played really good basketball, especially that first 3 games of the series. First 4 games of the series, 3 or 4. But he had 25, 24, 28. Miles Turner played good. Mathurin was getting good minutes in. So they're looking good. I'm pretty heavy on the Cavs though. I don't think this will be like a sweep or anything like that. I do think this could be a game 6, a game 6 type situation, maybe game 7. I just really like the Cavs. I mean, what the Cavs did to Boston, or who did they play? The Hawks or the Heat? They played the Heat. They killed the Heat. Like, it wasn't really like, yeah, they swept them. And Garland looked so good. Mitchell looked so good. Moby looked really good. Ty Jerome looked good. This is a deep Cavs team. They're playing the Pacers. I think this will be a closer series than most people are expecting. But I am going to confidently pick the Cavs.
So I think Halliburton's the key here because his ability to make skip passes and hit the right guy consistently, I think is going to make it a lot harder for Cleveland to hide two non-good defensive guards out there. And I think that could be a way in which Indiana does it because every team obviously will circle the fact that Garland and Mitchell aren't great defensively, but not every team can take advantage of it. I think they're going to have enough guys who can create advantages and then make the right pass to where Indiana can make this a tough series. I don't think I would pick them to win just because they've been better defensively obviously this year than they were a year ago, but they are by nature an offensive team. I don't think Siakam's one-on-one defense that I think is his stronger suit on the defensive side of the floor. He's obviously a decent help defender, but he's not as athletic of a guy like really most other teams' main help defensive player to take away shots at the rim when they're inevitably going to have to trap Donovan Mitchell or hedge against Donovan Mitchell or send help towards Donovan Mitchell to where they need help on the other side of the floor. I would say if they did need to send help, I think I would be comfortable at least making Mobley shoot to start the series and then adjust from there. But I don't think they're going to have enough defensive answers for what the Cavs do. I do think they could win the series opposed to the Knicks versus Celtics series where I don't think the Knicks could win the series. But I do think Indiana could win the series. Stylistically what it would look like, it would look like they would have the most chaotic offense ever, and the Cavs poor defenders just look lost in defensive rotation, and it'll like kind of reminiscent of like potentially what the Utah Jazz of Gobert's time looked like, where it was like Mobley and Allen are just sitting there like, guys, what the fuck? Like, please do something. But I think Cleveland will make it work because I think their offense is good enough. I would pick Cleveland in 6, but it could be a 7-game series for me. Other than that, I do have one thing to say. Anonymous player poll comes out and they vote Tyrese Halliburton the most overrated player, which, well, I mean, is there a single player who wouldn't want to play with Tyrese Halliburton? Like,
all he does is pass.
I feel like every player would want to play with Tyrese Halliburton. It just makes no sense to me.
I mean, Halliburton's better than Dame, for sure.
100%. Halliburton is so much better than Kyrie Irving, and I think he's better than Cade Cunningham. That was a take I was seeing all the time. I'm like, Tyrese Halliburton was an elite offensive engine a year ago and was still very good this year after he got healthy. So I would pick Tyrese Halliburton to not be the most overrated player in the league. Yeah, I mean, do you have any other Cavaliers versus Pacers talk? There we go. It's
I'm all good.
It's going to be a good series, I think. If there is going to be a blowout in the series, I don't think it will happen. The Cavs literally steamrolled the Heat and blew them out in just about every game. I don't think that is going to happen here with Indiana. I think Indiana's the third best team in the East. I've kind of thought that for a while. Yeah. Do we got anything else just in general in this playoffs?
No. I think these next matchups. I think I'm gonna go ahead and say. I'm not gonna say it because I don't know. I think Rockets win tonight and force Game 7. I think that's gonna be a really good game. I think we're gonna get 2 Game 7s in the first round. I think the second round, especially I think more so in the West, is gonna give us some really enticing matchups, like really very interesting. And then when we get to the Eastern Conference semifinals, Yes, we're gonna get ready for some great basketball. 1 versus 2 seed. Make sure to tune in. Yeah, that's all I gotta say.
I think no matter what we see, it's going to be really great basketball. I think the one series that might not be is the Knicks versus Celtics, because I feel like you can tune in for the first game or for like the first two games, and if the Knicks don't have any answers, you know they're just going to lose like very convincingly. Other than that, I think every series is going to be very good, and I think that more continues on a take I have on the first round. And like I feel like this was like one of the best first round of the playoffs like ever. I'll let you comment on that. Like I feel like every series, even if it didn't go 7 games, like had really interesting schematic things to look at. That like even the Lakers series that they got blown out in, like Lakers did a lot of really like funky things defensively, and the Timberwolves just took advantage of it. And as a basketball fan, that is very very fun to watch, even if the Lakers did lose that series very handedly. Um, so yeah, I mean that's all I have. Unless you have anything else, we're gonna wrap this one up.
Let's wrap it up.
All
Go
right.
Clippers.
He's trying to get the fantasy punishment voided. He needs it. Um, but next week's episode will be the What's Next episode for the Milwaukee Bucks, Detroit Pistons, Lakers, Heat. The Magic are also in there, and whichever Warriors, Rockets, Nuggets, and Clippers team loses. And I guess we'll throw the Grizzlies in there too. I guess they deserve to be a part of it. Yeah, that will do it for this episode. We will see you guys next week.